Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Friday homeschool Q&A. Today I'm actually going to be answering just one question. It is actually one that I have gotten from many of you, and that has to do with how do you get meals on the table in the evening after you've been homeschooling all day and trying to juggle so many other things in life. How do you actually feed your family at the end of the day? Now, I have to start off by saying I am not a pro at this. I'm actually one of those people who is Googling, how to get meals on the table myself and trying to gain some wisdom from other moms who are much better at it than I am, reading blogs, watching things on YouTube, and sometimes a lot of times they are helpful and give me some good tips, but other times, can I just say they're kind of discouraging because I think, how on earth are they able to do that? And I can't. Like, what is wrong with me that I cannot, do the, freezer meals, or I can't make a nice meal plan and stick to it? What is going on with me? What is my problem? So I'm just being honest here and letting you know I have not mastered this. So hopefully this video will be more of an encouragement to you if you are struggling with trying to get meal on the table for dinner each and every night. And I am going to share with you, though, 4 of my different methods that I have used throughout the years to try to feed my family. And these literally are the only 4 methods. Like I'm doing one of these 4 at any given time, sometimes mixing and matching some of them, but I'm going to share them with you in this video, and I would love to hear from you. Let me know down in the comments, how do you get meal on the table? Is this something you struggle with as well, or is it just me? But I've gotten a lot of questions about it, so I'm guessing I'm not alone here. The first method that I use for trying to feed my family at the end of each day is survival mode. Survival mode meal planning, because I'm not really planning anything. I'm totally in survival mode. And this really happens in seasons of life where there are just a lot of challenging things going on. Maybe when I just had a new baby and I'm tired and I'm exhausted and I just cannot get a whole bunch of meal planning done. Maybe it's when I'm pregnant and I'm feeling horrible and I'm sick and I'm tired and I'm achy. Maybe it's a season where my health wasn't very good, when I am dealing with maybe some issues with different children. Maybe there's just a lot of conflict with my kids and we're really working through that. There are just seasons in our life where meal planning and getting, our family fed getting our family fed is a priority, but the whole meal planning thing, it just gets dropped to the bottom of our list because there are other things that take priority. I mean, we cannot do everything and get everything done and be perfect at everything, and that we really have to prioritize. And there are some seasons of life where doing a big meal plan is not the priority, and we just have to be in survival mode when it comes to meal planning. And that's kind of where I have been for the last couple months, since we were homeless for a while and living with my sister and her family, and then we moved into our new house and trying to get familiar with where the stores are and getting our house set up. We've just been in survival mode. And really what survival mode is for me is going to the grocery store without a list. I'm literally walking down the aisles going, well, I usually buy garbanzo beans and black beans, so I'll put those in. I usually get some rice. I always seem to need an onion for something, so I'll get a couple of those. And I'm just throwing things in our cart. I have no idea what meal I'm going to make with them. I'm just trying to get some food in our house. And when I get home, I am putting the groceries away, and that is it. I do not think about dinner again until the very day that I need to make dinner. And it's usually not in the morning. It's usually not in the afternoon. It's not even an hour before dinner. It is usually right at dinner time when everybody is hungry and asking, Mom, shouldn't we be eating dinner? I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I totally forgot. And I'm looking through the cupboards thinking, what can I make quickly so that I can feed my family? And this is the season where we are eating a lot of frozen waffles and scrambled eggs. We are eating peanut butter and jelly with fruit, or we are eating I'm cooking up some noodles. We are lucky if we put spaghetti sauce on them and actually make spaghetti, but a lot of times it's just noodles, and opening up a can of garbanzo beans and a can of green beans. There are times when we are in survival mode that even chopping up an apple I can't even do that. I'm just thinking, let me pull the can of applesauce out, because I know the second I pick that knife up in my hand to cut that apple or that piece of fruit, somebody is going to need me. The baby is going to have a blowout. I'm going to have two kids that are going to start arguing, and I have to go mediate and help them work through it. I mean, we are just in survival mode. There are some seasons of life where that is just the case. And my goal isn't really to feed my family this wonderful, from scratch meal, and it has every food group. We're just trying to survive here. And so that has been the season that we have been in, and now life is getting a little bit easier. We've found the grocery stores, we've located them, and I know what I could get at each grocery store. And so now I am just starting this last week, to move into the other methods of meal planning and getting out of that survival mode. The second meal planning method that I have is one I'm sure you are all familiar with, and that is the weekly meal planning method. And that's where I am just sitting down once a week and planning out 7 meals for the upcoming week. And I'm writing down all of the meals that I plan on having for dinner, and I usually try to include lunch in there as well. And then I'm making a grocery list of everything that I need to go to the store and buy all the groceries I need for that week to make those meals. And then I'm going to the grocery store for the week, and then I've got the meal plans already. And sometimes I have the meals all planned out by day, so I know that we're going to have, meatloaf on Monday, and we're going to do, some chicken noodle soup or something on Tuesday. Like, I have them all planned out, and sometimes I just make a list of 7 meals, and I just make what I feel like making or I have time to make on any particular day. I try to think that morning what meat I need to pull out of the freezer or anything that I need to do ahead of time to be ready for dinner, but it's really just planning 1 week at a time. The third method that I use is the monthly meal planning method, and this is where I am planning a whole month's worth of dinner meals, and usually lunch as well, at one time. And I am making a list of not only all the meals we're going to have, usually about 28 days of meals, but I'm also making a grocery list. And the way that I make my list is that I have one big long column that is for my bulk shopping trip. That is everything that I can buy that's going to last for 28 days or 30 days, so that I only have to go to do one big grocery run once a month. And then I take all of those meals and I kind of break them up into weeks, and I say, okay, these are the ones that we probably are going to have the first week. These are the ones we'll have the second week, the third week, the fourth week. And then I will have a little column on the side of my little spreadsheet. So I've got this bulk items list here, and then I will have week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And under week 1, I will put all of the kind of perishable items that I need to buy on a weekly basis. So especially fruits and vegetables that aren't going to last, 28 days. And so what I do is on that very first shopping trip, I will buy everything on my bulk list, plus what I need for the week 1 meals that I plan on making. And then for the second, third, and fourth week, I can either just make a really quick trip to the store just to get those produce items that I need and any other thing that I need for just that week. Or I can give that list to my husband and he can pick it up on his way home. And so that really just simplifies things for me. Now, I am not one to sit down and think of 28 days worth of meals. That seems overwhelming to me, and frankly, the thought of that is just overwhelming. And so I remember one time I sat down, I thought, I'm going to plan an entire month at one time, and I just about wanted to cry. I'm like, I can't think of what to have for 28 days. I can barely think about what we're going to have tonight. 28 days worth of meals. My goodness, this is overwhelming. And then it dawned on me, I have already been planning weeks at a time. I mean, I've already planned, a week of meals, and then another week of meals, and another week of meals. And I went, how about I do this? How about I plan several weeks of meals, 1 week at a time? So this week I would plan 1 week of meals. The next week I plan another one. But I saved all of those. I saved all of those meal plans and all of those grocery lists. And so then all I had to do was gather those together and put them together to make one monthly meal plan. And so I don't ever anymore sit down and say, I'm going to go plan a whole month of meals at one time. Oh my goodness, no, I don't think so. That is so not me. Instead, if we want to change things up and get some new meals into our routine or something, then I'll just say, hey, I'm going to plan meals for this week. The next week I'll plan a week's worth of meals. And then the third week I'll plan a week's worth of meals. And the fourth week I'll plan a week's worth of meals. And then by that time, I can sit down and take maybe 20 minutes or something and combine all of those into one big bulk shopping list and divide them up by week, which I will have kind of already done because I was planning 1 week at a time. And so now I have one whole month of meals planned and a grocery list to go with it, but I didn't have to sit down and take hours upon hours to think about it and write it all out. I just did it in little increments and was able to put it all together. Then what I found is if I did that several times, now I had several monthly meal plans, and I started labeling them meal plan A, meal plan B, meal plan C, meal plan D, and they were monthly meal plans. And so then I had 3-4 monthly meal plans that I could rotate through. And so I literally at the beginning of a month just had to go, okay, which one sounds good to us this month? And I'd take that, and it would have a list of all the meals we were going to have, and then it would have a shopping list already written out. And I would take that shopping list and I'd just go through my house and I'd cross off anything that we already had. So maybe I needed, like 4 cans of green beans, and I already had 4 cans of green beans. So I'd cross that off. And then I would have a grocery list that I didn't have to write out. I just had to walk through and cross things off if we already had them. And the great thing about this is if for some reason I found myself at the store, maybe we were running errands and we had time to go to the store, I could just pull up that list on my phone, and even though I hadn't crossed things off, I could still go ahead and just buy everything, and I would, I just have a little bit extra to store in my pantry, but so that didn't really matter. I might have a couple extra spices or something, but that wasn't a big deal, and I would just know that the next time I probably want to go and check what was in my pantry before I went to the store. So that really, really helped me because I don't like meal planning, and I don't like writing grocery lists. And if I can be honest, I really don't like making meals. I would prefer to bake. But now that we have so many food allergies in our house, I don't really like baking either, because it's not really fun to bake when you can't use wheat or dairy or nuts or eggs. So yeah, I just don't really love being in the kitchen at all. But this kind of monthly meal planning really helped me to be able to get meals on the table for my family and to make sure that I had a plan for what meals we were going to have and have a grocery list and be able to get to the store just one time a month. And it just really simplified things. Now, the reason I do not use a monthly meal planning system right now is because when we used this, it was several years ago, and it was soon after, actually it was quite a few years ago, and after we implemented this, and I had, gathered together several months worth of meal plans, and it was working so well for us, I found out I had a ton of food allergies. All those I pretty much listed at plus fish. And so that just about wiped out everything that we could eat. But I thought, I'm still going to feed my family based off of the meal plan, and I will just make things separate for me. And I did that for a while, and that was okay. I didn't mind. But then I started finding out one by one that almost all of my kids had food allergies. So now I couldn't feed them anything that was on my meal plan. And I just have not had the time to go back and make a whole new monthly meal plan with all of our new recipes. We are still trying to find recipes to get us through a whole month. Usually we're eating the same thing week after week after week because I'm still learning how to cook for people who are allergic to wheat and dairy and eggs and fish and nuts. So it's been a little crazy. So I'm slowly hoping, now that we're moving out of survival mode, that I can start doing weekly meal plans. And then those will slowly become monthly meal plans, and that we'll be able to do more of a monthly meal plan method, because I found that that was the most beneficial and worked the best for me. The fourth method that I use is the make ahead meal method. And this is one of the methods that I've never used this all on its own. I've never said, all we're going to do is do make ahead meals. This is usually one that I kind of incorporate into survival mode, or my weekly meal plan, or my monthly meal plan. And this would be something that I would do maybe before I had a baby. I would try to cook a whole bunch of meals ahead of time and freeze them so that when we were in survival mode, we would have some make ahead freezer meals to eat. Sometimes I like to have make ahead meals, freezer meals, and I incorporate those into my weekly kind of meal plan. I'll say, okay, I'm going to plan 5 meals, and then 2 of them we will eat out of our freezer that I've already made, or I'll incorporate it into our monthly meal plan. Now, for me, I am not the type of person who wants to spend a whole day or 2 days making meals to last a whole month. So I know some people use this method and they literally spend several days making enough meals to last for an entire month, and then you don't have to worry about cooking at all for an entire month. And that sounds, in theory, wonderful to me, but then it doesn't really sound wonderful to me, because I don't want to be in my kitchen for several days. And I don't even know how I would do that. I have hard enough time just trying to get just one meal on the table at the end of each day. I don't know how I would have time to make several different meals. So I try to incorporate make ahead meals with what I'm already doing. And what I mean by that is, if I come home from the store, my bulk shopping trip, and I have got like 20 pounds of ground beef and I'm dividing it up, I will take maybe 5 pounds and throw it into a big pot and make ground beef with it and divide it up into little bags. And then I know I've got, a pound or so of meat for spaghetti, and a couple pounds of meat for a casserole, and a couple pounds of meat for, maybe a soup or something that I'm going to make later. And so I haven't made an entire meal, but I'm doing some of the prep work ahead of time. This also might be if we're grating cheese, which we don't eat anymore because we have a dairy allergy, but when we could eat a lot of cheese, if I'm going to grate cheese for a recipe, I would just go ahead and throw in a ton of cheese into my food processor and just make a ton of different bags of grated cheese and throw those into my deep freezer. Another thing that I would do to try to keep ahead of this make ahead meal type thing is, if I was going to make a casserole for my family one night, I would double the recipe so that I could put one casserole in the oven, and then I could freeze the other one and use that in the next week or 2 or 3 or 4 in the future. And so I found for me, if I'm going to make a meal, it usually isn't that much more work to double it. And so I found that that's really been helpful. If I'm making something like chili or soup or a casserole that I can double and freeze half of it, then that allows me to kind of get 2 meals done at one time. Another thing that I do really isn't making freezer meals, but making make ahead meals, in the sense that I'm grouping ingredients together so that they're all ready when I need them. So what I mean by that is, if I want to one of the dishes that we do make is kind of a 4-bean quinoa salad. And so it's quinoa, and then it's 4 different types of beans and a little dressing. And so what I will do sometimes is measure out the amount of quinoa that I need, and I will put that into a little Ziploc bag, and then I will put that little Ziploc bag in a bigger one that has the 4 cans of beans in it, along with some of the seasonings that go into the dressing, and I'll zip that up. And that way, when it is time, when I'm in a panic and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to have for dinner? I can just go into my pantry and go, oh, there's the 4-bean quinoa salad meal right there. And I have all the ingredients. I won't accidentally use one of those beans for something else. It's right there. I can pull it out and everything's ready for me just to almost just dump, and make it really quickly. So a lot of times I will do that. Also like with spaghetti, maybe make, like I said, brown up the beef, maybe put it in with the spaghetti sauce and put that in the freezer, and then it's really easy for me just to heat up really quickly. So those are just some of the different ways that I try to stay ahead of the make ahead meals, because I really do not want to take one whole day to do mass cooking. I do that sometimes because, like right now, our deep freezer is completely empty. There is no make ahead meals. And so I'm thinking pretty soon here that I'm going to, make a big run to Costco and, get a big bulk shopping trip done. I might take a day to do a big kind of freezer cooking day and just kind of get ahead of the game and have several things in the freezer already. So as you can see, I am not a total pro at this whole meal planning, getting meals on the table. I have lived a lot of my life in survival mode and just feeding my family what I can at the last minute. But I am, I'm hoping to move into that weekly meal planning here and eventually get into a more some monthly meal plans that we can follow and do a little make ahead freezer cooking meals here pretty soon. But there is just a time and a season for everything. Those are my 4 methods for getting meals on the table, but I'd love to hear from you. How do you get your family fed at the end of each day? Leave those tips and tricks in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again really soon.